Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. We are gonna run our first tier 6 map today. See how this is gonna work out for us. The map modifiers are increased crits that hit harder, so that's gonna be fun. Physical reflect, yet again no elemental reflect, but we'll see how this goes. Monsters fire 2 additional projectiles, which combined with the increased crit chance means it's gonna be harder to dodge the crits, so it's gonna be interesting in terms of pain received. Monsters have extra lightning resistance, we don't care, and they poison on hit, again we don't care because chaos immunity. So we got a bit of a mixed bag and we get 2 modifiers for free. So nearly double the items, that's gonna be fun. Let's see. So the Strand is supposed to be based on the Twilight Strand, and as such it's just gonna be interesting. There's no modifier to the monster types, so we'll just see what naturally spawns here, or if it's just completely random as always. And we'll have to see how dangerous things are going to be. The crits means that there's going to be more variance in the damage we take compared to just the regular thing. So normally hits are just hits. This case hits might hit quite a bit harder every once in a while. So far we haven't encountered anything overly dangerous just yet. That's presumably that's an upside of a ranged control build like what I'm playing. If the enemies are not shooting stuff at me, then I have a reasonably firm grasp on how things will be. Ooh, that's a lot of queens and they shoot stuff. So if they hit harder or if they crit harder, that means we might have a larger chance of getting stunned. Which could be potentially interesting. Our evasion does help quite a bit in just avoiding getting hit and therefore avoiding potential stuns. But law of big numbers, if there's more projectiles flying our way, that's gonna even out our chance to actually dodge those things or evade them. Depending a bit on what triggers. So far, it feels a bit like an endless ledge run. Frostbolt. An endless ledge run, as in there is no branching, there are no rooms to the side, and I have to say that is pretty darn nice. Just keep trying to curse things. Ooh, Moonstone Ring. We are energy shield base, so a Moonstone Ring unique sounds like it could be very interesting. So let's kill the couple of queens that are out here. We actually are getting poisoned, that's the funny bit. Just doesn't do any damage. That's the even more funny bit. Okay. Let's resummon the Golem, take a couple steps back and have a look at that ring. What is it? Heartbound loop. Also, stop trying to murder me while I'm paying attention to items. You monsters. We get 11.6 life generated per second. That seems less useful. Increased mana regen. Minions have increased max life. Minions have increased radius of area skills. And we take 350 physical damage on minion death. Definitely a build around kind of item where you want to inflict the cast on damage taken, I think. In combination with area of effect minions. SRS, the Summon Raging Spirits. There you get a lot of minions. They have a habit of dying rather frequently. So you will be able to consistently trigger cast when damage taken. The increased AoE might give them melee splash to make that work. On the other hand, zombies with melee splash or skeletons with melee splash will use the increased AoE. But I think this is the kind of ring that you want to use if you have some kind of obviously broken build in mind. But for your average build, the 350 damage taken is going to be a bit on the punishing side. Casting anything meaningful via cast more damage taken, you always have the damage penalty to consider, except when you go for the highest level versions. I don't think it's level 19. There you no longer lose damage from cast more damage taken. Up until level 19 you have a damage penalty. It's time to kill things with cast on damage taken. There's trade-offs to that. On the other hand, if you manage to trigger it very often, then obviously you can get degenerate really quickly, especially if you have multiple cast more damage taken setups with a lot of skills attached to it. And if all you're doing is casting SRS, then your mana is rather fixed. But if you then manage to trigger a whole bunch of Novas or Vortices or create a multiple projectile Frostbolts and Arctic Breaths and things like that. Curses. I can imagine if you have the Summon Raging Spirits going as one minion type, you could maybe do a cast more damage taken skeletons. If you're just generating a lot of damage that affects yourself, then you'll just have an infinite army of skeletons. Then you don't need a spell totem for that or something. You could keep things like zombies and specters on manual cast, since you might want to be picky with that. If you're even gonna go with those, but that's a consideration, of course. Okay. Stop trying to bomb rush me, all of you. I need some space here. I need some space. Yeah. Okay. Space achieved. Let's re-summon that rather fragile Ice Golem. On the flip side, I think our Ice Golem is still rather low level. I think I checked it last time as well. Why did I hide it? Oh, there. 16. That's level 64. That it requires. So it's still a bit under leveled. Most things do gain a bit more life, damage, whatever, at higher levels. So we're just gonna wait it out and see if it catches up or not. Just keeping an eye out for the monsters remaining. So if it drops below 50, we know we are getting closer to where the boss is gonna be. So we don't get surprised by boss encounters like we had last time with the wolves. Those wolves were fun, but they were pretty scary dangerous as well. Let's make a quick town stop, empty your pockets. Sorting bin. Well, at least it's a nice find, getting a Chaos Orb. Tier 3 map, well, we're running a tier 6, so it would be nice to get a tier 6 in return. On the other hand, from Zana I've been able to buy tier 6 and tier 7 maps, obviously at a pretty high price. Like 4 chances and things like that. And no, they don't drop often enough that I consider chances to be valueless currency. They definitely, yeah, they're limited, so I do value them. I think I've got less than 20 of them. It's usually when I start seeing stacks of over 50 in my currency tab. If I start seeing that regularly, then I start to consider them to be common. Chaos Orbs definitely not there yet. Orbs of Alchemy also not, but no, it's the alterations, transmutations, augments, those things are really common now. Chromatic Orbs, they are really common, especially if you just use the usual things. Stuff like Blacksmith Whetstones are really common. But anything that deals with rare items, yeah, you don't find enough of those yet. Hey, I see a vegan. That's always fun. But let's deal with them. Oh, you are Elemental Reflector. You definitely Definitely see health tick back on that yet. Ooh, you got a companion as well. Let's clear out a little bit of an arena here. We always have our backup of throwing a bunch of skeletons in his face, but if we can avoid it, that would be nice. Try to keep it for the impulse. And the map dropped. Cool, that's tier 5. That's almost there. That's good. Hey, hello, buddy. Hey, kill him. So we just someone doesn't like me a lot. Oof. That's that lightning stuff that just prevented me from regenning, which is rather nasty. Let's see, restricted checkpoint. That's gonna be early on in the maps. So I don't think we're gonna make it to him. I don't think we're gonna make it. Might as well just empty our pockets since we're not gonna make it. Might as well just use the board we got. And then we dive back in. 17 seconds. Yeah. Might have actually made it, but Vegans there. Generating. Hey, it's doing good. It might be the very first vegan mission I failed. I was not expecting him to be this tough and aggressive. But that's for CI. Not being able to regenerate your energy shield is definitely your biggest weakness. If you get into a situation where you are being continuously damaged, then you definitely need to get out. And if you can't get out, then you have an issue. Then you really have an issue. So you know, this is a softcore character because I killed him on hardcore. That's why I'm experimenting with things like CI, higher tier maps, just different maps, things like that, just to get a good feel for them. CI is definitely a trade-off. It allows you to ignore chaos damage, which is a massive boon. But the price you pay is that your regeneration becomes a lot harder. Sorrow of the Divine does allow you to cheat a little bit by just giving you Zealot's Oath on demand. So I think that was the final end. Let's double check that we really killed everything. Yeah. Hello, Maché. Yeah, I have some skeletons. So we've cursed you twice. We put some frost orbs beneath your feet, and then we can just blast you from a distance. So we're speculating a little bit earlier about using the Heartbound loop ring in some kind of degenerate all my minions must die often setup. Our puppy, the summon ice golem is fragile enough that you could almost qualify that one as a source of repeatable cast on damage taken. Just as a very interesting casual side observation. And I think that was it already. Wow, this is a really short map. That was a really short map. The maximum life definitely helps your minions stay alive. Increased radius was the... Technically this is not an AoE skill, so it's not going to benefit from the AoE. The physical damage taken, obviously, that is mitigated by all things that reduce your physical damage taken. So that's going to be armor, that's going to be arctic armor, that's going to be endurance charges, that's going to be all of those things. So 350 is a lot, especially if you're spamming SRS. I think, you know, you can easily cast like 4 per second. So if they all end up dying, that's going to be 1400 damage per second that you're inflicting on yourself. Even if you are reducing it by half, that's still going to be 700 damage per second that you're taking. That's a lot. So if you combine that, now if you stack armor and endurance charges, then you get to 90% reduced. So then the 1400 becomes 140 per second. That's something that you can easily regenerate using a stone golem. Just by itself, just a stone golem is gonna fix it. On the other hand, if you have a life-based build and you have a lot of life regen, you can get 10% life regeneration from the skill tree in the Marauder area. Though going a bit up to the Templar, going to the Sign for Shaper. You could even go to the Duelist for the Lord of the Arena. Was it? Master of the Arena, that one. So this is 1%. You got the Warrior's Blood, that's a lot. The Templar, you got Sanctity and you got the starter nodes. At the Scion you got Shaper and you got those starter nodes. Up here you got a little bit more life regen. So, and of course the endurance charge based ones, the 0.2, if you have an endurance charge build. 8 charges is easy. No 3 from default. You get +1 here, you get +1 there, you get another +1 here, that gets you to 6 charges. So 6 charges times 0.2 is another 1.2% of your life regenerated per second. Then of course if you pick Oak for your charges, there's another +1. You got Calm's Heart, Calm's Sign. There's the rings that give you +1 to your endurance charges. You can equip 2 of those. So getting quite a bit of the endurance charges doable. Then you got a reasonably tanky build. If you combine constant damage taken, Immortal Call, increased duration with a build that generates a lot of endurance charges, with something like SRS, even if you have 20 SRSs out and they just start dying in a row, you get 1 or 2 that triggers the damage taken from the Heartbound loop. Then you have, if you have like 9 or 10 charges, then your Immortal Call is gonna run for about 3 or 4 seconds if you level it out quite a bit. So you get like a couple of explosions, that's gonna trigger the Immortal Call, and then all the other physical damage afterwards completely ignored. It can trigger once every quarter of a second, so you can really often have it trigger. Heartbound loop, Immortal Call, cast damage taken. That as a core combo, you can do pretty broken stuff with it, I think. If you think about it a bit more than just what I'm just now throwing up in the air, just thinking about it, you can do really interesting things. Biggest problem is that I found it on standard. And I would like to actually get back to playing more in the leagues. So I'm not going to build a build around it here. Might actually see if it's affordable. I don't know if this is affordable or expensive. I'll look that up as well. You could do interesting broken stuff with it. Well, anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. We ran the Strand. Turned out to be not too difficult. For tier 6, it seems like a reasonably farmable map. So if you got lots of Strand maps, just farm them and hope you get enough maps to sustain yourself from there on. But that's gonna be it for now. So I'm gonna thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.